Purple, a short story by PJ Leonard. Every day they would play in the field. From sun up to sundown, they would enjoy their childish games, rolling down the hills, sprinting through the grass, and tumbling over one another into piles of laughter. They never once gave a thought about who they were. And why would they? There was too much fun to be had in the field. Until the day the big one came to them. Big One stood calmly by the edge of the field, watching them play. It didn't say anything. It didn't look angry or happy. It just waited there, patiently. And without a word, one by one, the little ones in the field fell silent, standing still and staring at Big One, until they all stood as still as the grass, the only sound the gently blowing wind. And then the big one turned and slowly walked away. There was a look in its eyes, one which made all the little ones look to each other, then walk out of the field, following the big one in single file. Over a hill they marched, climbing down into a gentle valley, a small pocket of trees at the bottom. The hills seemed taller here too. They cast shadows over the valley. The little ones pulled closer together. They had never been this way before. Whatever Big One had to show them had better be quick. They had to get back to their nice warm field to play. When they arrived at the trees, Big One turned to face them all. It towered over them, nearly as tall as the trees. "Look at me," said Big One. "What do you see?" The little ones turned to each other, shrugging. A brave little one raised a hand and said what was on all of their minds. "You look just like us, only bigger." Big One nodded. "That's right," it said. "I was a little one too, a long time ago. But there is something else about me. Can you see?" The little ones shuffled uncomfortably. They didn't like staring, especially at strangers. Besides, they couldn't see what else was different. Big One closed its eyes and then opened them again. "I am red," it said. "You see my colour? Yes, that is who I am. Look around you now. Can you see? Half of you are red, just like me." It was as though their eyes had opened for the first time. Sure enough, the little ones looked around at each other and saw that half of them were red too. Why had they never noticed that before? It seemed so obvious now. "But what about the rest of us?" said another little one. "I'm not red. What am I?" "You are blue," said a new voice. Another big one emerged from behind a tree. It looked, in many ways, just like the other big one, except it was another new colour, blue. And just like red, the little ones saw that the other half of their number were also blue. The little ones stared at each other in amazement. The faces they had known had suddenly transformed before them. That friend whom they had raced with yesterday was blue, and that other friend with whom they had sat on the slopes and watched the sunset was red. "But why?" said the little one. "Why are we different?" "It's just the way things are," said the blue big one. "There has always been red and blue." "So what do we do now?" Red big one laughed. "That is quite enough for today, I think," it said. "We'll come back for you tomorrow for your next lesson about red and blue. Run along now, go and play in the field." The little ones walked slowly back to the field, looking awkwardly from one to the other. Some of them tried to play, but they gave up quickly as if they had been sapped of all their energy. Others just sat in circles, talking. "So, you're blue," said a red little one. "And you're red," said the blue little one. "Oh, what does that mean?" said the red little one. "Are we different?" "Oh, yes, you are red and I am blue." "That's not what I mean," said Red. "I mean, are we different?" Blue rubbed his head. "I don't know. I guess the big ones will tell us." Red looked out over the field. It couldn't help but notice that the little ones were looking at others of the other colour a little longer than before now, as though they were wondering the same thing. The next day, the big ones came for them together. The little ones lined up almost straight away now, silent and tense. The big ones raised their eyebrows, but then nodded approvingly and led them to the woods once more. There they had the little ones seated in the grass. The grass here wasn't warm and springy like in the field, but coarse and thick. It itched, prickling on the smalls of their backs as they listened to the big ones speak. "Those that are red are fast on their feet," said the red big one, "while those that are blue are slower but stronger." "It's the reason I was late to your first lesson," said the big blue one with a grin. Both the big ones laughed. A blue little one stood up. "But I am faster than anybody in the field," it said. Even the reds." Red big one smiled. Big red one smiled. It was a slightly sad smile. "Ah, my young one, now you are so small, but as you grow to our size, your bodies will begin to change. Look at the muscles on my legs, you see? And the muscles on big blue one's arms." The little one shifted to see. Sure enough, the legs of the big red one were thick and hairy, while the arms of the blue big one rippled with shining muscles. The more the little ones looked at big red one and big blue one, the more different they became, it seemed. A flutter of muttering ran through the grass as the little ones looked around at each other. Big blue one rubbed its chin. "Do not take it as being absolute, my little ones," it said. "There are lots of exceptions to the rules. Just because you are blue doesn't mean every red will be quicker than you. You too, red ones. Not every blue will beat you in a fight." "A fight?" said another little one. "But we never fight." "Again, we are not speaking in absolutes here," said big red one, a tinge of impatience in its voice. "These are all just possibilities and examples." But it was in an even quieter group of little ones that traipsed back to the field at the end of the lesson. The blue little one who had stood up in the lesson walked around the field now, challenging the reds to a race across the field, but they all ignored it. The blue little one got so frustrated that it began prodding a red on the shoulder, insisting on a race and not taking no for an answer. But then the red launched to its feet so quickly that blue stumbled backwards and fell to the ground. "Not so quick there, were you?" said the red one, sneering. A laugh rippled around the field, but it wasn't the warm, joyful laugh they had always heard, but a mean, almost cruel jeer. The sound unnerved them all, and it died away, replaced by a silent shudder. On the lessons went, one each day. With every lesson, the differences between blues and reds were further explained. How reds had long, clever fingers and were good at doing things with them, while blues were more of the mind, preferring to think first. How reds were a little bit more swift to anger. The racing blue little one cast a knowing glance across the group to the red little one that had knocked him over. How reds could grow long, smooth hair, while blues could grow thick and hardy hair. How blues were more group-orientated, while reds were more independent-minded. How reds preferred the warmer weather, while blues preferred the cooler weather. And with every lesson, the big ones that taught them seemed to transform before the little ones' eyes, until they looked like two different creatures entirely. How had they ever seen them as being exactly the same, only a different colour? And every time the little ones returned to the field, the reds and the blues drifted further and further apart. Playing stopped, the hills no longer for rolling down, but for standing and talking in groups of the same colour. Occasionally they'd chance a glance at someone across the field who was the other colour, but look back before they were spotted. "Those blues, I always thought they were strange," a red little one would mutter to another. "They always tended to hang around in teams, have you noticed?" "I just feel like I can't speak to a red with this," a blue would mumble to another. "They just aren't thinking type like we are." One of the blue little ones frowned and set its sights firmly across the field. Sure enough, there was its red friend looking straight back. They both smiled and rolled their eyes at one another. The lessons went on, and the field grew more and more tense. One day, it finally broke. On the way back from a lesson, a pair of reds ran ahead, taunting the blues by saying that they couldn't keep up. When they were in the field, a blue pulled on a red's long hair. The red yelped in pain and tumbled to the floor. "What did you do that for?" another red yelled, running up to them. The blue stepped back, holding up its hands. "Sorry, I just wanted to know what it felt like," it said, rubbing a hand through its own coarse hair. "You could have just asked," said the red. The other red had stood back up now, eyes wide and furious. But blue stood its ground. "Well, you reds get angry so quickly," it said firmly. "Like right now, see? There's no point asking you lot anything." "All right, let's all calm down here," said another blue, jogging up to the scene. "Calm down? Your friend here pulled my hair." "This isn't my friend," said the blue who'd just arrived. "Just because we're the same colour doesn't automatically—" "But you all think in groups," Red pointed out, "just like the big one said." "It was two of you reds against me a moment ago," said the first blue. "No wonder you reds have such long fingers with all the finger pointing you do." More reds and blues stepped into the argument. It wasn't clear who threw the first punch, but within seconds the whole field was fighting, rolling about the grass once again, but now pulling at hair and digging fingernails into each other, teeth bared. Except two. A red and a blue sat at the far end of the field the whole time, atop the highest hill, watching the whole fight unfold. "What a mess," said the red one. "I wish the big one had never came. We were better when we knew nothing." Blue shrugged. "It's not their fault, though, and they're right, aren't they? We are different. It's our fault for acting about it the wrong way." Red looked at his friend. "How should we act about it, then?" Blue scratched its chin. I'm not sure how to say it." "How about this?" said Red, raising its hands to the air as if painting a picture on the clouds. "Differences, they shouldn't be a scary thing, and they shouldn't be ignored. They should be understood and respected. That way the similarities are all the more special." "You always were the smart one," Blue laughed, looking down at the fight. "You think we can get the others to feel the same way?" "It's going to be tough," said Red, "especially when we all seem so different. But there are some things that we still share." "Like what?" Blue felt something warm touch its fingers. It looked down. Red had wrapped his hand around its own. Blue felt a rush to his cheeks, and they both blushed. They both blushed the same colour, the colour between their own, purple. I see, said Blue, smiling awkwardly. Well, we've got a lot of work to do, starting with ending this fight. Come on, I'll race you down. They rolled down the hill together, laughing as they did so. The fight down below slowed to a halt as they watched a red and a blue meld into one as they rolled towards them, blurring into a single purple one. The end.